Computer. Okay, welcome. Brenda-Lynn, you are the person of the hour today. We get to edit your piece, The Great Escape on Screen. Fantastic. And I am in love with this piece for many, many reasons. One, because it just captures my attention and puts my heart in my throat, even though I know you're sitting there and you're safe and your children are grown into adults and doing well in the world. It still puts my heart in my throat. And that's what good writing does. So I suspect we won't have to do much to this piece, but we're just going to massage it and we're going to ask whether there's, a better sequence or whether, cutting out some words would make it stronger, because we can almost always drop out words and tighten things up. So with that, I will share the screen and we will get right into it.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Russ, for this opportunity and for allowing me to be the guinea pig.
You won it. You won it. We had a draw in the memoir cohort and you won it.
Thank you.
So I am into the compose and review. So we're going to track the changes so you can see the changes that are later and you can accept them that we make. And let's just start here. One of my first thoughts is The Great Escape. The title is always what starts a piece off with the beginning of a silver thread. And the title, The Great Escape, you cannot copyright titles. I believe there was a movie with Steve McQueen, if I'm not floundering there, but there is something out there that's already called The Great Escape. Bill, you remember that too? Great. But we cannot copyright titles. You can use titles. And that is a neat technique because it's almost like borrowing the audience of the people that like that, or that it's in the cultural lexicon already. And people are going, that sounds familiar. Let's check that out. So that's an advantage too of having a title that is similar or like titles that are out there, like The Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki couldn't do anything about that. And The Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist made great sense to the dentist who wrote it. Why not? So here we go. The Great Escape, 2002. That's also a neat little tactic too, putting in the time, because then when people get their heart in their throat, they'll be able to go, oh, right. 2002. It's 2024 now, and this person is writing it now. They're obviously safe. Those little things. But the
Can we
writing
make
you do, make it
larger?
bigger? Yes, I'll make it
Yes.
bigger. That will go into the view. And let's try. How about, is that good?
That's better.
Better? Let's try 200% then. I've got a big screen, so let's try it. Wasn't there other choices there? Oh, there is a 200%. Let's try that.
There we go. That's
Okay.
better. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking, Bill. Okay, so 2002, it's interesting the way that we use dates in pieces as well, because we can slide dates in by possibly using the hit song of a year or the kind of car somebody drives and how old it is. But The Great Escape 2002 has a rhythm to it. So ordinarily I might say, do we want to put the date in the title? But I think we'll let that stand because it has a poetic rhythm to it. The Great Escape 2002. Kind of like in the year 2525, if man is still alive, so that kind of thing. That's where it takes my brain. The word just, that first word of your story, Brenda-Lynn, is one of those words that I call a throwaway word. What about if you did it without the just before? And start with the word peeing. I mean, like, who's going to maybe be interested in that peeing on the clear blue stick? So maybe let's consider getting rid of the just before. Peeing on the clear blue easy stick, I paused and said a silent prayer. Now, any woman that has ever peed on a pregnancy stick, hoping for positive or hoping for negative, is going to be with you right there. Any man that has maybe not wanted to be a father, and I've told several, the minute you drop your pants, you risk being a father. So, take care of it. But there, peeing on the clear blue stick. How does that sound to you without the just before?
Sounds fine. Sounds great.
Okay.
I'm up for anything, Misty. So
All
that's
right.
great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you can keep yourself off on mic so that you can speak up quickly if you need to. And at this point, we've just gotten rid of that because that will go in the next line. But now with the track changes, it can't see if there's not a space there, that there should be a space there. So we'll have to check that later. Please God, if I am pregnant, I hope Russ will be okay with it. So you immediately have given us the two main characters of this story. The narrator, who is on until they figure out a way for men to pianistic to see if they've made their women pregnant. We know that the main character, the I, is a woman, and that Russ is the man that is going to have a say on the pregnancy. I hope Russ will be okay with it. Now, whether or not that is, there's still some mystery here because Russ could be a brother that's supporting a younger sister. Not that it is, and not that I'd go there. I'd probably go with my first assumption. But he also could be a counselor or something, or it could be an adoption that, not an adoption, but the the thing that,
Surrogate.
yeah, the surrogate too. That's right. So there's still possibility for mystery. But now we go and we hear right away, okay, he had said he didn't want any more children. I had already given him his boy. And I love that, him, his boy, his total pride and joy. Now, pride and joy is usually a cliche, but the way that you phrase it here, I might be tempted to leave it. I'd already given him his boy, his total pride and joy, because the poetry is there and because it really does characterize him, especially when we get into a little bit further about how he's so proud that the neighborhood woman has given birth to a baby girl. I mean, there's something here that's going to connect that. And he had three daughters from two previous marriages. However, I didn't have a girl, my own girl, one to call my own, and I'd always wanted two children. So you started the sentence with an and you have an and here. When there are sentence lengths and variety that we can do with sentence lengths, I suggest that you take out this and you have the longer sentence and then the shorter sentence. I'd always wanted two children. So he'll have to deal with it. I'm sure he'll be fine. Then I told myself, I think that's part of the same sentence, and somehow things came in here a little wonky,
It
and
is.
that's not you. So let's take the track changes off for a few moments so we can see things here. And
I was having formatting it, so
yeah, that's okay. We'll deal with that. That's not a problem. So let's just, I think we're maybe not going to track changes while we're doing this because you have your original and you can compare if you need to. And if there's anything you say, no, no, I don't want it that way, you speak up because this is a
okay,
collaborative process. I'd always wanted
great.
two
Thank you.
children, so he'll have to deal with it. Now, I don't know about these being two sentences because it sounds in my mind like it's a continuation with the so, but you could take out the so. I'd always wanted two children. He'll have to deal with it. And that speaks to your gumption. I think I like the strength. We're showing a little bit of strength here of you if you take out the so and say, he'll have to deal with it. I'm sure he'll be fine. And then you start to doubt yourself. So I think that would be great. Oops, to do this. I'm sure he'll be fine, I told myself. And it's not do that. I told myself. He'd been bragging all week to the neighborhood that our neighbor Claire had her baby 2 days prior, and it was a girl. She had named her Campbell, which was her maiden name. And he made sure to call everyone on the street with such excitement, you would have thought the baby was his. That is just fabulous because it starts to tell us a little bit more about this man and your observation of him, which doesn't have any judgment in it yet. It's back to your prayer. And so when I peed on the strip, it immediately showed. Now, this is a new paragraph, so I'll take that back down. How do I tell him? Now what? Yes, and now you're getting to the doubt. And we're starting to feel maybe a little bit of the tension, I believe. I didn't have a real plan, and now I was afraid to tell him as I secretly stopped taking my birth control. he's going to be upset. So here, how do I do that? How do I tell him I didn't have a real plan? And now I was afraid to tell him. So how do I tell him I didn't have a real plan? Question mark. Let's put the question mark there. Let's see how that works. And then you start the sentence. Now, because maybe it's not even like, how do I tell him I didn't have a real plan? I think you're maybe asking yourself that there. Like when I peed in the strip, it immediately showed a plus sign. Now what? I didn't have a real plan. I was now afraid to tell him as I secretly stopped taking my birth control. I think there's a little
Yeah.
disconnect there. What do you think?
I think so. I agree.
Okay, so now what? I didn't have a plan. How do I tell him, comma, I didn't have a real plan? Maybe that's what we need there is how do I tell him I didn't have a real plan? Now I was afraid, and we don't need to tell him. We have to tell him before. We know what you're afraid of. Now I was afraid as I'd secretly stopped taking my birth control. And let's have this short little punchy sentence. He is going to be upset. Now, this is kind of a vague, bland statement. Do you want to do some more
Take
showing?
that out.
Pardon me?
Can we just take that part out? He is going to be upset. Like now
Yeah,
I was afraid, I think is enough to get
yeah.
readers fearful of me.
Yeah, because I had secretly stopped telling, yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's take that out because I was thinking maybe we would show like you're anticipating what his reaction is, but you're right. I think it is much better to get to his reaction where he throws the stick at you and you are crushed and you now know that you need to be afraid for you and your unborn baby and your son. Now I was afraid as I secretly stopped taking my birth control. And let's put this in a new line. New paragraph. Suck it up, Brenda-Lynn, I told myself. It's your body. So suck it up, Brenda-Lynn, comma. It's your body. And now, okay. It's your body. You've wanted nothing more. And let's take out the end. It's your body because ending on the your body is, and then starting a new sentence is wonderful. You've wanted nothing more your whole life than to be a mom of 2 kids, and now you have your wish. And now you are about to have your wish because we know the pregnancy, beginning of the pregnancy. And now you have, now that's speaking with certainty that you know that Haley Dawn is here. You might want to, and now you're about to have your wish, and now your wish is within sight now, and now maybe even ellipsis there, because that will build some of the tension. We don't know what he's going to do. He didn't want any more children. You're afraid. What do you think
Mhm.
there?
I think so. Yeah,
An ellipsis? Okay.
I think so.
All right. So put your big girl panties on and go outside and show him the stick. He'll get over the shock. He'll be fine. All right. So you're trying to convince yourself. So after a few deep breaths, I went out to his workshop in the garage and handed him the stick. Okay. I think we're going to have a new paragraph here. After your little talk to yourself, went out to his workshop in the garage and handed him the stick. This is for you. And that's dialogue. And then he's saying, what's this? So we now have to do dialogue. This is for you. And what's this? And that's him. And then the next part is you. What does it look like? It's a pregnancy test and it's positive. Do we need that I'm pregnant?
I don't believe so.
No. The look on his face turned to immediate anger. And then the verb choice that you had there, he whipped it back at me, powerful. He whipped it back at me, it hit me harder than chest and fell to the garage floor shattering and said, "You're not. Is this a joke?" So we're going to put the M dash in there, which for anyone else with Mac keyboards, it's Option Shift and the hyphen mark for that. And then you don't put a space on either side of the M dash. Nope,
Okay.
not a joke. Now, that sounds rather flippant for you when he's so angry. Do you remember how you felt at that moment? What were your thoughts going through your head?
Um, I think I just remember I was in shock that he was so adamant.
Mm-hmm. Then maybe
Um,
let's have no dialogue there and just have, I stood there in shock.
okay. Yeah.
Well, you're not having it. You'll have to get rid of it because you're not having another baby. And now, was this your inside dialogue or did you actually argue with him that day?
I did argue with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Okay.
I and I usually didn't argue with him because he could be nasty, but
Uh-huh.
um it's kind of so I yelled,
Oh, okay.
are you kidding me?
And now it might take a little bit of an introduction of that you some internal dialogue that you're shocked you're yelling at him because it's nasty. He could get nasty if you fought back or argued. Um,
Mm.
so I stood there in shock, or that you came out of shock. And it's too cliche to say the mama bear is coming out in you, but you didn't. You just shared with me that you didn't usually yell back or argue because he could be nasty.
Yeah.
So, how do we communicate that to the reader, that reality of that moment? So we keep the reader in the moment that you're in. Any ideas?
Um, no, nothing's coming to me
Okay.
now, but
So were you usually quiet? Were you usually meek? Were you
I
usually,
usually was meek,
yeah.
very meek.
Mm-hmm. Contrary. So maybe contrary. Now this is where I'm going to ask if other people have some ideas because we're all here together here. So would it be like contrary to my usual modus operandi? That's too wordy, right? Contrary to, or not, I don't like the word contrary, but that's what,
Contrary to, I usually back down.
oh, that's good. Um, so yeah,
I usually back, but today
instead of
I did
How
backing
about
down.
say I did.
instead of backing down, and then you know that she usually doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. Instead of backing down, I yelled. And then let's make that a period so
How
that
about I
you yelled.
found my, how about I found myself yelling because that wasn't our usual,
Oh,
I
yeah.
shocked myself, I found myself yelling.
Hmm. Yeah, yelling. Really?
There
You're
you
shitting me. You've been on the phone for the last 2 days, squealing with excitement that Claire had her baby. And now that I want another child and I'm having your baby, you say no. So I think that comes across now.
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
No. Okay. So that,
I
and
also think I would think just as a instead of making your sitting me a declaration, I think it should be a question.
oh,
You've
yes,
already
yes.
said you've already said really,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say, "Are you shitting me?" Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're still in wonder, even though it's different than what you normally do because you'd back down. But
Yeah.
really, for me, isn't quite enough to wrap up. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
And then you go into yeah.
Okay. All right. So then this is where we asked Brenda-Lynn, was it more
Yeah.
of a question or an accusation when you said that?
An accusation for sure. Are you like that just as it is there? Really? Are
Okay.
you shitting me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah. A
you.
question can still be an accusation too. You've been on the phone. All right. And you can't be serious. And he allowed you to walk away. So was there like anything after that moment? Was he shocked into being silent because you yelled back?
I think so. From what I remember anyway, that
Mhm.
yeah, he just was nope.
Yeah.
And it was it was end of subject for him,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
not for me.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. And a subject for him, but not for me. Yeah. The subject for him. I walked back into the house, locked myself in my bedroom, and sobbed into my pillow. I hadn't told anyone else yet and started to panic. Now what do I do? My stepdaughter Crystal heard me crying. She was 17 at the time and knocked on my door. Are you okay? And Chrissy just sounds like such an amazing young woman to have been so aware at that time, right? I'm
She
okay,
is.
Chrissy. I just had a fight with your dad. That's all. I didn't want. Is that right there? Oh, I also wanted to mention the interrobang. I don't know how many people know about the interrobang, but it is a formal, acceptable master editing punctuation form, the interrobang, the interrogation and the exclamation put together at once. In fact, one of my editor friends from the Editors Association Canada has interrobang earrings that have the question mark and the exclamation point put together. It is an actual punctuation mark. It's really fun, just for people if they're questioning my use of that. My stepdaughter
And it's
Crystal.
called an interrobang.
Yeah, interrobang as the first part of interrogation and bang. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Interrobang, interrobang. Mm-hmm.
Can I mention, Rusty, just a paragraph above what we can see right now? Brenda-Lynn's name needs to be hyphened.
Oh, we don't have her name hyphened. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, this is more about the developmental editing more than the proofing, but thank you.
And also the comma should be inside the
The punctuation. All right.
yes.
Thank you. And just for, reference, we're not doing proofreading, but thank you. We're doing more of the developmental editing.
Okay.
All right. And instead of backing down, that's where we were, and a subject for him. And we're not going to worry about the paragraph, the line breaks right now. We can do that copy stuff later. I didn't want to tell her why, and what she said next completely changed my trajectory. And this is really powerful. I don't understand why you stay with him when he treats you like shit. Wow, I thought, out of the mouths of babes, what a slap in the face. Now this, because it's thoughts, we're going to do some italics, comma, out of the mouths of babes. And we're going to get rid of that little hyphen there. What a slap in the face, because your internal thoughts here, it's like your own internal dialogue. And that would be a comma. Well, what else am I going to do? I'm afraid to leave. He's already threatened that if I leave, I'm not taking his boy. And if I do, he'll make sure I disappear. I have a question, because I know this is going to combine and connect with your other piece later with the accident with Dylan. This was before or after the accident with Dylan?
After.
This was after the accident with Dylan. Yeah.
After. Dylan was only 5 months old when he had his accident.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep that in the back of my mind, because this piece can stand alone, but there's also, when you put all of the pieces together, there's something there that I think this piece will need when you put them together, because it's even more important, the relationship he has with his son and the way he views children and responsibility. Oh, that's the old alarm for the Monday writing room at home on Alberta time. I was like, we can't be at the Monday writing room already. I was like, no, we just started here. Okay. So that is something for us to keep in mind when the pieces go together, because there's a whole bunch of energy around that too. He's already threatened that if I leave, I'm not taking his boy. And if I do, he'll make sure I disappear. He apparently, now the verb, okay, Bill, this is an adverb that really does not probably deserve his place on the page, because apparently and seemed and while and maybe are all things that actually can take away the writer's authority, is the sense of authority and believability. So he apparently, if he bragged about it, then he bragged that he had so-called connections with the mafia in Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did brag. He liked to
Okay.
brag about that. Yeah.
Okay, this setup here for my mouse and stuff is not the best. There we go. Brag of his, and not so his connections, his connections with the mafia in Hamilton, and was an associate with the Hells Angels. I don't know if Hells has an apostrophe in it or not. We might want to look that up. So let's just put a comment in here and we'll look that up. Of the apostrophe. Where does it go if they have one? And then I have to put the comment in there because it's not. There we go. Add comment. I didn't spell apostrophe right in the comments. I never worry about that. You'll know what I mean.
Yes.
Scared to death to leave. Now that's a cliche, and I want to know what it's feeling like in your body, because we know that you've been in your room crying. We know that Crystal has just shocked you into an awareness of, like if she hadn't said that, might that have kept you in the study they did about battered women and abused women, about being in the rats in the boiling water. If you put them in the boiling water, they'll hop out. But or the frogs, if you put them in the water while it's coming to a boil, they won't hop out. So without that statement,
Right.
Where might you have been? So what are your feelings? What's your body? What's happening in your body at this moment? I was scared to death to leave.
Boy. Well, I know I was trembling. That I know.
You're
I was
trembling.
petrified. I
Mm-hmm.
was trembling
So
and
yeah.
trembling and
Mhm.
scared to leave.
Yeah. So I think we don't need the scared to leave if you say, I couldn't get my body to stop trembling. If you kept Crystal on the other side of the door because you said you didn't, I think you said up here, I didn't want to tell her why. Well, you also don't want her to see, because this was that conversation was on the other side of the door. You didn't open the door, right?
Right.
So trembling, my body refused to stop trembling.
Terrified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is what terror felt like. Terror for my body refused to stop trembling, terror stricken for myself and but you talk about your child soon, so maybe we leave that a little bit later. My body refused to stop trembling. Let's keep the word terrified. Thank you, Bill, for a little bit. Of course, I didn't.
Brenda-Lynn used the word petrified.
Petrified. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right.
Petrified or terrified, one of those.
Yeah. But what I asked her.
I was really fearful. It was
Pardon?
scary.
Yeah.
I was very fearful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what I asked her next was if she would secretly ask her mom how she managed to leave. Now they've got the I, the Crystal, and the she. So we want to be clear. It's clear to everyone if she would secretly ask her mom how. And now we know Crystal's name. If you want to give a name to the mom, that would be really, really clear to not have any dangling pronouns. She would secretly ask her mom how they left. Obviously, she left, like her mom left with Crystal, right? So maybe how they left.
Yeah.
Okay. She promised me that she wouldn't say anything to her dad and that she'd ask dad and she'd ask her mama. I told her I needed time to think. So you did. So she hugged you. So you did let her into the room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She hugged me. She was so young, yet wise beyond her years. Oh, how I love that girl. When she left the room, her words kept repeating in my head. And Russ's words, get rid of it. I don't care what you do. You're not going to keep it. Yeah. And this is like where I like to say that there's always a better verb than get or got, unless you're characterizing someone. So using it in his language, his vernacular. Yes, absolutely. So that's awesome. Don't worry about the bold later. Whoops, that meant to be a period. Well, nope, I made up my mind. Right
Okay,
then and there, petrified and all. Well, nope, I made up my petrified mind right then and there. Maybe it's time to get rid of you. And I like that. And I think it deserves italics. I made a plan. It had to be a secret plan because if he found out that I wanted to leave and was making a plan, there would be hell to pay. So there's the word plan in there 3 times. How can we change that a bit? So I made a plan. I made a list. No, I made a plan. It had to be secret. It had to be a secret, just a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he found out that I wanted to leave and this might be where was plotting out my escape, but like to use the word escape, maybe was drawing up a list in my head, was thinking, how do I proceed? And did you, like, I remember the night that I made my plan. I mean, at that time, I was totally not eating healthy, not living healthy, and was really narcoleptic, probably due to low thyroid. That's much more corrected now. And I couldn't stay awake. If I wanted to, if my body wanted to fall asleep, I'd fall asleep mid-sentence standing up, sitting down, as long as I had something to lean against, I could be asleep. And the night I made my plan, I shocked myself. I didn't sleep at all that night, not one wink. And so when you are in this stage, when a woman is in this stage, there's a whole bunch of things going on. See if you can capture those moments. Like you're going to tell us and you're going right away about you're calling your mom and dad. Well, what else was going on in your mind? The first initial thoughts about was there panic about that you'd cut off from your family? Was there panic about how you were going to get out of this? What was there at first a not knowing, but having to know? See if you can recapture some of those moments, those thoughts.
Yeah, I knew that if he found out, I'd never be able to leave, that he would be suspicious all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to raise any suspicion at all.
Right. So because if he suspected even one little thing, I would be stuck. Because instead of the hell to pay, if he suspected.
Yeah.
And can you
Sorry, my puppy's not
Hmm?
cooperative right now. My puppy's not being very cooperative right now. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Do you need a little break for your puppy or
No, I'm just going to put myself on mute for
okay. All right. Because
distraction.
he suspected. Because there's also something that happens quite often with women when they get this resolve. There's a honeymoon period. Did he go through it at all? Any kind of honeymoon period, feeling the change in your energy? Or did you actually manage to keep your split energy and that being meek and mild and terrified around him? So he thought that he still had you where he wanted you. Now that's cool. That's an important part of this because after I made my plan all night long, it was like I was mistrusting my plan because he went into honeymoon period and everything was bright and pretty, but I had to stick to my plan, even though but you are nodding your head that you actually managed to kind of keep yourself split, meek and mild around him and planning when he wasn't in your space. I think that
exactly.
would be really interesting to kind of capture on the screen. If he suspected I had found my inner resolve, I had found. you'd be locked down or you'd be watched or there would be no spare moments. There would be no chance. It's kind of like, remember Tina's story in the book where he didn't let her go anywhere with the youngest child?
Yes.
Yeah. If I found an inner resolve, found out that I wanted to leave. No, let's not. We know that you want to leave. We know that. If I'd found an inner resolve, and how can we say a plan without a plan? I'd found an inner resolve, was thinking of ways I could make it happen, was examining avenues, was like, what I found an inner resolve and knew I had to do something. Or maybe we leave it. If I found an inner resolve, the repetition could be good. If you suspected I'd found an inner resolve, found it that I wanted to leave and was planning, because made a plan here, I was planning.
Was planning my escape.
Planning my escape. And then there would be hell to pay. There would be, what would be the equivalent? Like was there ever a time before where you felt like you were watched all the time, or that there was, that you'd missed your chance, and now there was kind of this calmness that you were really working hard to create so that you would have a chance to leave?
Mhm. Well, when I was pregnant with Dylan, actually, when I was 6 months
Oh.
pregnant with Dylan, I wanted to leave,
Ah.
but I didn't because my
Mm.
family at the time was like, you don't want your baby to grow up without a dad. And I
Oh.
was like, all right, so I'll stay. I'll
Wow.
suck it up and stay.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, that's excellent. This time there would be no sucking up like when I was 6 months pregnant with Dylan.
mhm.
Sucking up to keep him content. How does that feel? I think that brings some more of the reality of the moment in.
It does. It brings the story together better. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. That night when he was busy in the garage, I quickly called my mom and dad and told them the situation. And then I think let's get rid of the that. And I wanted and needed to leave. Straightforward. I wanted and needed to leave. We had been estranged for a few months. As I chose my asshole husband over my generous and loving parents, they immediately said they would help in any way they could. Was it your parents or friends that said you didn't want to raise your child alone?
My parents, my
Mm,
dad in particular, he didn't want me to have to
mm.
raise a baby on my own.
Yeah.
But
But you chose your asshole husband over them. Did Russ have problems with your parents because they were so loving and generous and supportive? Ah,
yes,
okay.
interesting.
Uh,
Yeah.
as I chose my asshole husband, um, over my generous and loving parents. So my asshole husband, I like that, but we need to show that it was his assholish behavior towards your parents that then you couldn't take the tension, or if he didn't like them because he wanted to keep you without supports. This is part of the psychology too, that they were a
Okay.
strong support to you, even though they were supporting you to stay with him. As I
Can we
chose,
put
pardon me.
controlling husband?
Mm-hmm. So I chose, and we just need a little something about the what was he like after your parents visited? Did he feel emasculated because they were supportive? Did he feel that they were interfering, or that you were too happy around them and not that happy around him? Something there caused him to not like them. What was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was happy me around my family and not so happy with him,
Ah, yes,
right?
really husband,
Um,
the loving parents. And I chose pleasing my controlling husband, as I chose pleasing my jealous husband because he was jealous that you were happy with them, right? So jealous might not be the right word there because jealousy is usually a lover, right? As I chose pleasing and placating my controlling husband. And let's put the asshole husband back, okay?
Okay.
For a while. It might be too early to call him that, or it might be the perfect time. As I chose pleasing and placating my asshole husband over my generous and loving parents. He hated how happy I was around them and complained. Now, do you remember his complaints? Do you remember his language around that? Or was it more subtle?
That was a jumble of time for me. So I'm just trying to think of,
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't like it because they challenged him.
Oh,
They challenged me with him, right? There was a really, really difficult time one Christmas where like I didn't even see my parents for Christmas.
oh,
So
wow. So you say that you'd
like
been estranged for a few
made me
months.
see between
Yeah.
him and them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He hated how happy I was around them, complained how they challenged us to grow. Or he hated how happy I was around them. It was just easier to not be around them as much. Like you miss them, probably.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. But it was easier for me to not have to deal with him. He hated how happy I was around them. It was easier for me to not deal his um his grumpiness.
Yeah.
Um, though I miss them dearly. So I miss them every day.
Yeah.
That be true? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. They immediately said they would help in any way they could. My grandmother was in her 90s at the time and had just moved out of her little house and moved in with my cousin. So her furnished house was available to live in until I could get on my feet. Yeah. Bonus was the house was around the corner from my parents, so I would have their support. Now, so this is kind of a shift from here to
Yeah.
here. So a transition. So you had your first first step in place, your first level of the plan, first. Come on, what's a military term for planning? Strategic plan. What's a how long did it take Crystal to get back to you?
Oh, she got back to me that next, like within a couple of hours, I think, or the next day even.
So shared the next day. The next day, we might have this in the wrong order, but right now. And Crystal shared the next day how her mom did a secret escape when he was at work. I knew that's what I had to do, but now, how do you do this? I don't know. I think it's really important that we maybe let this whole sentence go, because, but problem was, Russ was very rarely out of the house. I had the advantage. My son's father worked for a weekend at a group home, so I had a whole weekend.
Oh, wow. You're lucky.
Yeah, believe me, I used the whole weekend because I took absolutely every picture off the walls, every outfit my son would grow in the next 6 years, the whole freezer of food, packed the U-Haul on a hitch on the car. My great escape, I had a lot of time to plan it. So here's the trick.
Yeah.
You know, she did a secret escape when he was at work. And now let's not call hers maybe an escape. a secret run for it, a secret
Exit.
exit. Yeah, love it. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Secret exit when he was at work. But the problem was Russ was very rarely out of the house as he operated his business from home. My health and the baby's health had to come first. I was already totally stressed out and knew that if I didn't leave, I would end up miscarrying. So you knew this? Did you have a problem with pregnancies?
No, but I was already starting to be crampy, feeling like
The stress.
I was so
Yeah.
stressed. I was
Mm.
cramping.
I was already stressed out and cramping and knew that the cramping wasn't good and knew let's see if I can make my keyboard a little more stable here. Nothing's really level in this house at this old table. I knew that the cramping in my abdomen, oh no, I spelled that wrong. Was not good. And now we don't need to say this. My health let us be afraid for the baby and you.
Okay.
I was already totally stressed out and knew the cramping in my abdomen. And not knew, but was afraid, and terrified.
Wasn't a good,
What was that, Virginia?
wasn't a good sign.
Oh, yeah, okay. Terrified the cramping in my abdomen signaled danger to the baby and me. Took it as a sign that if I didn't leave, I might end up miscarrying.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't that also be a question? If I didn't leave, wouldn't I end up miscarrying? Like it's a
Wouldn't I
big
end up
question.
miscarrying? Would I end up miscarrying?
Might, it's just still might.
I think the might is better. I tend to avoid the words would, should, and could for various reasons that are no longer with my brain. So on February 14th, I packed up 2 independent grocery bags. Didn't you say IGA bags when you shared this recently?
Yay. Yeah. I chose to put it because I didn't know if people would know what an IGA bag was.
Yeah, independent grocery. I know we don't have IGA anymore. A lot of them have closed down and gone into Fresh or something. So
Right.
yeah, they were around for years, IGA. Independent. What did the A stand for? IGA.
Association,
Oh,
Independent Grocers Association. I believe that's what it was
but
called.
anyway, mentioning trade names and stuff is a dangerous thing. So we'll just say 2 independent. And independent then has like 2 meanings here. If we capitalize it, would definitely have 2 meanings. But independent grocery bags, small plastic bags of clothes. So the 2 bags they were the clothes, one for you and one for Dylan. You didn't have, they were just 2 independent grocery bags. 2 plastic grocery bags, and they're small, right? 2 plastic, small grocery bags, 1 with clothes for me and 1 for Dylan. 1. So, like with clothes for you, adults' clothes take up more space than a bag, right? At least, with the baby's clothes, you're going to be able to fit more in a bag, like a toddler. And for me, my get out bag had, like 5 pairs of undies, 1 pair of pants, like things. So like you could get specific here is like just one outfit for me, that's 1 spare outfit or whatever, and some jumpers and sleepers for Dylan.
Well, Dylan was 4, so he wasn't in sleepers
Oh.
anymore.
Oh, right. Okay, 1 spare outfit for me. And some play clothes and pajamas for Dylan.
Yeah.
Clothes and pajamas for Dylan.
Mom and Dad that IGA stood for I got everything.
Now, when did you hide them in the back of the truck? How did you know that you weren't going to get caught doing that? Where was Russ then?
He was in the basement working.
Okay, so in the basement working, and how did you know that he wasn't going to come up for a cup of coffee? Had he just come up for a cup of coffee and you knew then you were good for a while, or that you had this and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's really pivotal here. Is like, where did you hide the bags in the house, or did you just do all this in a fluid motion when you knew you had at least a half hour before he'd be back up again? Did he come up to go pee? Did he use the bathroom? Did he get a coffee? Did he take his lunch down?
I may have done when when I knew he had been upstairs for a minute, grabbed a coffee, went downstairs to make some phone. He was on a phone call.
Oh, you booted it.
He was on, and I booted it all out real quick.
Uh-huh. Did you already have the bags packed when you were taking him out to the truck when he went downstairs? You did. Okay.
Yeah.
So on February 14th, I packed up 2 plastic small grocery bags, 1 spare outfit for me, some play clothes and pajamas for. So did you have them packed before the 14th? The 14th, the day that you put them in the truck?
No, I did it all that morning.
All that morning. Okay. So in the morning of February 14th, let's spread this tension a bit out in the morning of February 14th. Oh, morning. February 14th, 2002, I packed up 2 small grocery bags, 1 spare outfit for me, some play clothes and pajamas for Dylan. Later, when Russ came up to fill his coffee, retreated back to his workroom, back to his basement workroom. I heard him on a call. Was he a long talker in phones? Could you?
Oh yeah. He was a gabber, bragging about anything good to anybody who would listen.
Gavin, bragging on a call. This was my chance. This was my chance.
Yeah.
Because it was and then you left. So this is all in the morning because you were leaving for work and you had a day shift, right? Like you were working with the kids at the school. Yeah. So on the morning of February 14th, I picked up. So
I had already called my boss and asked for the day off, but he didn't know that
No, but you still had to make it look like you were going to work. Yeah.
I had to make it look like I was going to work. Yeah.
To fill his second for a second coffee, came up for his second coffee of the day, for a second morning coffee. Or retreating. Retreating is a giving up word. That's not the right word for Russ. Before heading back to his basement workroom, so later Russ came up for a second morning. Oh yeah, this just went it. Later Russ came up for his second morning coffee. And headed back to his basement workroom. And then he did come out and to say goodbye to you and Dylan, right? So I heard him bragging on a call.
Yes,
So we might need to put in the sound of the truck or something. I heard him bragging in a call. This was my chance. I breathed out. When I heard him bragging on a call, this was my chance. I had my chance. I took my chance.
Yeah, I took the chance.
And booted it out. Booted it out. Side. Hide them. Hide the bags. the back of the truck under a blanket, along with my accordion file of all of the banking and important paperwork. This is, yeah, you were thinking.
Yeah.
Then you had to go back in and grab Dylan, right?
Yes.
Calming. Was your pulse racing?
Oh, my pulse was racing like crazy.
Calming my heart. Keep down to a dull roar in my head, dull roar. Yeah. I don't necessarily like that, but I want to talk about something like that background beat. I let out a breath out, and went inside for Dylan. Now, did you always have to say goodbye to him and stuff? So then you shouted down that we're off to work and daycare?
Yeah. Well, Dylan always went on Fridays to my parents' house.
Oh.
So that's why I take him. I
So-
saved it for that day so that I
yeah.
wasn't taking him suspiciously.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
had it all coordinated.
Okay, so Friday,
Um,
February 14th, 2002. It was a Friday, Valentine's Day. Cool. I was already in the
Yeah.
truck. Let out a breath out and went inside to pack up Dylan. He was still in a car seat?
Yes.
Okay. Pack up Dylan. So he came out when you were already in the driver's seat, right? Right, I forgot. Did you yell down to say we're on our way now? Or did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I yelled down and said, going to work. See you later.
Yeah, went inside, pack up Dylan. Downstairs. To work now. See you later. Oops. All right. Where are we at now? We are page 3 of 3. So we're actually on the last. Oh yeah, we're almost there. All right. I was already in the truck, pretending to go to work with Dylan in the truck, in his car seat strapped, pretending to go to work with Dylan strapped in. And he's strapped. Was it a crew cab? Was he like you? I said the back, right? So it was
Yeah.
strapped in the back, in the back, in his seat in the crew cab, in his seat in the back. Yeah, because this is important because he has to open the door to say goodbye to his son or whatever in the back, and there's the stuff hidden under the blanket. I was already in the truck,
Right.
pretending, ready for work. My pretense, I'm pretending to go to work with Dylan strapped in the seat in the back. My parents watched him every Friday. So did Dylan stay home with Russ then on the other days?
There were, no, my neighbor watched him a couple of days, and the other 2 days he went to nursery school.
Ah, okay. So nursery school, neighbor, and let me see, where was it? But you're estranged from your parents and they watched him every Friday.
They still watched him. I still let them have him. Like they took him
Yeah.
every Friday and
Yeah.
Friday night so that I could have time with Russell and just
Oh,
have a
right. Okay. So this is convenient for Russell to have you not being a parent one night of the week. So therefore your parents get a chance to grandparent.
yes.
Yeah. So that might need to come in and that yeah, that might need to come in earlier with you being estranged from your parents. Oh yeah, I think I know how we do this. Where is that? Okay. So I quickly called my mom and dad and told them the situation. I wanted and needed to leave. We'd been estranged for a few months, other than no more visiting back and forth, but they had Dylan every Friday. We'd been estranged for a few months, other than they still although right, thank you.
So
Although they although we allowed them to have Dylan.
Lois Street.
Dylan's weekly visits were still part of the.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then to have Dylan on Fridays for weekly visits, Now that's not a drop thread with the grandparents able to have them every Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so he wasn't suspicious of Dylan and me leaving now. So he wasn't suspicious. My parents watched him every Friday, so he wasn't suspicious of a regular morning routine. And then my breath caught when I saw him come in. Like, did he often come out to say goodbye, or is this?
Nope.
Oh, yeah. But this day, of all the other days, he came outside to say goodbye to Dylan. And then slow this down, put a paragraph break. He opened the back door, my breath caught. Did your mouth go dry?
Mhm.
I thought for sure I would be caught. My heart was beating so fast I was sure he could hear it, but he didn't see the bags. Thank God they were covered with a blanket. And Dylan's backpack was on top. I quickly said, "Gotta get to work. See you later. I have a meeting." Did you really say all of that? Like you're nervous? Were you spitting things out or trying to be? See you later. Hmm,
Yeah, I just said I gotta go. I have a meeting. So I
yeah.
didn't let him linger at all.
Okay. Yeah. No lingering because right. Got to get to work and have a meeting. And I think maybe just have a meeting, really short staccato sentences with that. Now I had a question here. Have a meeting. Was it date night then? Was this something that, he wanted on Fridays because Dylan actually was overnight with your parents on Fridays?
It could have been, but we never really did anything special. Not
Okay.
that I do with Lovely, but
Okay. So that's not
yeah.
that. Okay. Have a meeting. And where did you say see? I think I took out the see you later. Got to get to work, have a meeting. And then here, see you later, because that was in.
Yeah.
And I put the vehicle in reverse. Track in reverse. Did he close? When did he close the door? Because you're in the driver's seat, you can't close the crew cab door on your own from that position.
Right. Yeah. So Russell closed the door.
I was signaling him to close the door. He got the hint, he closed the door. I pulled out of the driveway. We know that and we're not going to do it quickly, right? Because you still want to be calm, but I pulled out of the driveway, waving to my friend across the street, who also knew I was leaving. Yeah. It was risky telling her, but I had to tell someone I knew in case things got nasty.
Pull it out of the driveway. You need a
Pardon me?
preposition in there.
Pulled
Pulled
out of the
out
driveway.
of the-
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Wow. Waving to my friend across the street, who also knew I was leaving. It was risky telling her, but I had to tell someone I knew who could watch in case things got nasty. But I had to tell someone nearby in case things got nasty. I left that day, no tears, just fear, and pretended I was going to work. Period. I never went back. Happy Valentine's Day to me, my son, and my unborn baby. No turning back now. So I think this here and this
Is
here,
enough. Yeah.
one of them is enough, but I like the ending. I was going to work. How about you put I never went back here instead of there's no turning back?
Sure.
All right. And that,
Woohoo!
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, you can do a little bit more and then check it through and do the finessing and stuff, and then we can do some proofing. And I'm excited to write my 2 escape stories. And we're going to put out a punchy little provocative book about how to leave without them knowing you're leaving. So The Great Escape, it's something like that. No, The Great Escape is your story, your title. But yeah, fun. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for being with me, Dorothy, Virginia, Bill, and thank you very much, Brenda-Lynn, for offering your piece. That was so
You're
fun
welcome.
to call a winner. So
My pleasure.